Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vocabulary Unit 20. Here we go. A quip. A quip is kind of a short, pithy statement. It's a clever, very often, it's a taunting remark. We didn't like listening to his jibes or his taunts, his quips. In The Tempest, Antonio and Sebastian are issuing or uttering quips behind Gonzalo's back, sometimes within earshot, but just annoying kind of taunting jibes. Okay, quiver can be a verb or a noun. As a noun, we know that it's the holder for arrows, a case of arrows, to put them in the quiver. And to quiver is to tremble or to shake. Actually, the noun form could be the same thing too. You could say that she felt a quiver. There was a tremor, a shaking. Like Gatsby, when he's reaching for the green light, was quivering as he reached for the hope of getting Daisy back. To rail about doing something is to complain, like Caliban does. He doesn't like to perform his duties, unlike Ferdinand, who can recognize that doing the chores is going to get him closer to Miranda. So to complain or to protest something is to rail against it. When a disease is running rampant, it's running unrestrained. We think about the frame story of the Decameron, where the plague is ravaging Florence and the people are sequestered in a country villa telling stories. When things happen at random, things happen in an unplanned fashion. If it's random, it's arbitrary. There's no set pattern to it. You might say that the messenger who comes to see Oedipus, it being the same person who received the baby all those years ago, is somewhat random. To rankle is to irritate someone, to bother them, to irk them, to annoy. At one point in the play, Alonso says that, or he feels rankled when they're trying to cheer him up, and he doesn't want to be. He wants to just wallow in his pity, but he is rankled by Gonzalo's attempts to console him. When someone is wrapped in something, like Prospero being wrapped in the mask, so much so that he forgot Caliban's conspiracy, it's when you're fascinated by something, you're enthralled by something. To be wrapped up, to be fascinated, mesmerized. If you're going to ratify something, if you're going to ratify a deal or something of that nature, it means you're going to confirm it or approve it. And if you're raving about something, he's going on and ranting and raving, it means to sort of ramble on, to talk wildly. You could say Macbeth at one point might be raving a bit when he thinks the Burnham Wood is beginning to move. Quixote raves on and on about which knight is the most valorous. And to ravel is to untangle. Right? To ravel could also mean just to confuse, which is kind of funny because it's almost completely opposite. To untangle versus to confuse or to complicate. Their senses were all raveled up. They're all sort of confused. Okay, if you're feeling ravenous, you're feeling extremely hungry. The noblemen on the island are ravenous, and that's why they're eager to partake of the banquet. To raze is to destroy completely. This was a word that appeared in Sonnet 64. The speaker of Shakespeare's Sonnet 64 says that the lofty towers were down razed. A realm is a kingdom, a region, an area. Prospero's realm is the island. To rebuke someone is to reprimand them, to scold, as Prospero will reprimand Caliban from time to time. To recant is to take back, to withdraw a prior statement. As Chaucer does at the end of the Canterbury Tales, he writes a retraction and recants what he's done, to withdraw a prior statement, to repudiate. To recant one's testimony is to take it back and want to change it. When something is reciprocal, it's mutual. There's something about it that is almost exchangeable. At the end of the play, it seems as if almost everyone is reconciled. To reconcile is to unite, to make friendly after a quarrel. Divorces can be referred to as occurring because of irreconcilable differences. They can't be united once again. To recount what happened is to retell or to relate, to convey, to converse about. To recount the story is to narrate it. If you give someone no recourse, it means you're giving them no help when they're in trouble. Actually, if you give them no recourse, but the word recourse actually means to give help. So resorting to help when in trouble. There was no recourse after he crashed into the rocks, There was no way of helping him. To rectify something is to correct. To rectify your error is to make it right. To redress is kind of the same thing. To redress is to make up for or to remedy. If you want to redress all wrongs. When Trinculo and Stefano fall into the filthy mantled pool, they reek, which means to emit as in an odor. And to refrain is to abstain from doing something. To abstain from or to desist from. I will refrain from joking around with you.